This is the Real Estate Foundation, your show for massive action with proven results. Raise your life and your legacy with real estate.
Are you ready to take your multifamily game to the next level? Well, you need to join us October 12th, Saturday, October 12th, for our one-day multifamily foundation workshop. We're going to bring it to you live. We got a list of 15 speakers. They're going to go through the process of everything it takes to get your mind right, get the deal right, learn the terms, understand the markets, learn how to find the deals, learn how to underwrite the deals, learn how to put your team together, everything from property managers to brokers to insurance companies. Beyond that, what's the proper way to raise funds for a deal and how to close a deal and what to do after you take over a deal. So it's going to be a huge event. It's going to be awesome for you to join us. Got a great space. It's going to be here in New Jersey, in Springfield, New Jersey. Of course, it's going to be a one-day event, but we got everything packed in from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Right now, if you put in the code workshop, you're going to get a special discount. And again, that code is workshop. You need to go to multifamilyfoundationworkshop.com. Again, www.multifamilyfoundationworkshop.com, and go fast because we've sold a ton of tickets for this. I actually was able to get a bigger room, but that's filling up quickly as well. So again, www.multifamilyfoundationworkshop.com, put in the code workshop. There we go. Got that down. And look forward to seeing you so we can all take massive action together. Alpha Funding Solutions, your capital partner backing real estate investors since 2007, providing the best combination of pricing and leverage in the market. Join Alpha's family of 1,000 plus successful and happy investors, and let Alpha's team provide options on your next deal or reach out to discuss your future needs and strategy. So go to alphafunding.com/J&P. Again, that's alphafunding.com/J&P to connect or submit a deal today. Well, hello again, and welcome to another edition of the Real Estate Investing Foundation podcast. Glad to be back with you. Thanks for checking out with us. And of course, when you like what you hear today, please go over to iTunes, give us a ratings and review. It can be any star. We just want your feedback. We want to know what you're doing, what you like, and what we can do better. But today you have a great guest coming on. He's down in Charlotte. His name's Chris Salerno. Hey, Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing phenomenal. How are you, Jason?
I'm doing awesome. Well, thanks for coming in with us. And Chris, by the time he was 24, was company principal. Chris Salerno sold more than $40 million in real estate volume, had helped lead the #1 real estate team in the Carolinas to produce more than $140 million in annual sales, named the Charlotte's 30 under 30, Elite 50 entrepreneurs, Elite 50, 30 under 30 entrepreneurs, and nominated for Forbes 30 under 30. So that's a lot of 30s. So you got time. So we get the 30s. I don't know what happens.
Yeah, I know.
Has led to QC Capital to quickly become a well-respected, high-return investment firm. So awesome, Chris. Well, what I missed there? Give me more about what you're doing and who you are.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you for having me on the show. I'm very honored to be on here and very excited to be on here. I started my journey in the residential industry, quickly gained a success selling residential real estate, where that landed me in the position of running the #1 team in the Carolinas. And from that, I really dug deep into my goals, and I sat down with myself, and I'm big about positive energy and positive mindset. When I sat down with myself, I realized, well, to reach my goals, I need to play the game Monopoly, but in real life. And how we do that is we buy up multifamily. And I took multifamily as the asset class I wanted to be in. I studied all commercial type of asset classes, but I knew multifamily was a necessity. Because as humans, we need shelter. So I focus on B and C value add over 100 units here in the Carolinas. And that's how I made my transition into it, by studying it, reading tons of books before I made that transition. And then I hired a coach in December of last year and told him 6 more months, I'm done selling real estate. And I hold myself highly accountable. And he says, I'm going to hold you accountable to it. 1 month later, I called him. I said, I'm done. He says, it's only been a month. I said, I work best when my back's against the wall, and I will make this work. And since then, we've acquired a little over $40 million worth of real estate with QC Capital. So growing substantially. So very excited about it.
That's awesome. And so let's talk about multifamily first. So I guess, a need for everybody first. I mean, people could combat that and say, okay, you need a house. Sure, that could be a need and someone could live there, right? But why not houses? Why multifamily? What stood out to you about that space? You said, okay, I'm all in.
It stood out to me because one, the millennials right now they're scared to buy a house, and that's one section of millennials because they've seen their parents back away lose everything. They don't want to be in their footsteps, so that's why they're renting. But a big thing too these days, especially here in Charlotte, where Charlotte's the second biggest financial district behind Manhattan, is banks. When it comes to banks and jobs, we're seeing a lot of relocation. So these kids and these people that move for jobs, they want to be put in an apartment because they don't know, maybe in 2 years they're going to have to up and move again and move to another city because job relocation. But the biggest thing is the convenience. Look what Amazon has done to us. Amazon has patented the buy one or buy right now click. You click one time and you buy it right now, and then you get it in 2 days. And sometimes you even get it in 1 day. Mm-hmm. So it's that necessity of I want it now, and you don't want to cut the grass anymore. You don't want to worry about, doing yard work anymore. A lot of people want to come and go. They want the amenities of having a pool, having a gym, having an espresso machine in your lobby. So that's why I realized focusing on a multifamily asset class is the best thing that in my opinion, is the best asset class you can focus on while investing.
Yeah. And I love that. And talking about, you made this transition, right? And so you go from, of course, selling real estate to out there just buying large multifamily. The typical format is that people are stuck, right? They especially if you're successful, right? So a lot of people, if they were in your position, would be scared. I guess we're going to call it scared of just taking action and getting out there to make that move, especially when they're in a comfortable situation. If you look at that, what would you do again, or what would be the steps you would talk to other people who are maybe in a similar situation, stuck?
Great question. So I'm creating a coaching program now, and this is a little tip from what I have learned from being coached and giving this out, is that I would tell individuals to draw a circle. Just draw a circle on a blank sheet of piece of paper and put whatever you are comfortable at currently, what you have right now inside that circle. And that's called your comfort zone. If it's a house, if it's a car, if anything like that you have right now and you're happy with, put it in that circle, and that's your comfort zone. Now draw a circle on the outside of that circle, and right there between those two circles is where the success sits. That's where you're stepping outside of your comfort zone, and that's where you would put all your goals, is right outside of that comfort zone, and that's what you need to do, is step outside. So the biggest thing going in, if you are looking to do multifamily, is gain the knowledge. Get around, surround yourself with the people who have the knowledge, and gain that knowledge, because knowledge is power in any business and any career you're in. And you're especially going to need it when you are speaking to investors about investing in you and in that deal. So I would really sit down with yourself and figure out your goals, and then draw that circle, and then figure out, after you draw that circle, what do you need to do to then achieve those goals? It's extremely important to do that. And I do that every day, every year. I reflect on my goals and what I am doing to achieve those goals.
So, and I heard it also put well, and very well said, is that, people are so afraid of losing what they have, but because they don't realize what they can gain. And Correct. For you, you knew the bigger side of where you were going here. Talk about goal setting. How has that helped you vision? The success rate of people who basically track goals, put down goals, is phenomenally greater than people, there's studies out there, of course, all over, greater than people who just don't write goals or don't have focus. But it's such a simple thing, but people refuse to do it. How have goals worked in your life, and how have you built them in to really help you get where you're going and where you're going to be 5, 10, 20 years from now?
I think that's a phenomenal question. And when it comes to goal setting, in my opinion, I just watched a documentary last night. It was Brian Tracy, and it was the 7 success habits that he studied of millionaires. And he gave his whole background of how he gained the knowledge and what he came from. And we have a similar story in regards to that. But when it comes to goal setting, a lot of people will write down their goals in the morning and at night and then reflect them. If you look on my personal cell phone, if you look on my laptop, I have all my goals as my background. So I am in my mind every time I'm opening my phone or every time I'm on my laptop, my goals are right there on my background, and it's in my mind. So I'm training my mind that I've already hit those goals, And I've just started, from my coach's habits, I've just started a daily journal that at the end of that journal, what I do is, my goal is to become a billionaire. And at the end of that journal, I state that I am a billionaire, and I state what my goals are. And I do that every single day for repetition in my head. So if I can envision myself hitting my goal, I'll eventually hit my goal. And that's some of the books I've read as well, whose individuals and authors have studied very successful people, is that they say the same thing. They envision themselves hitting their goals, and they'll eventually hit their goals. So that's a big thing in goal setting.
And when you're basically putting your goals out there, how are you using quantifiable action step goals? Because imagine I could go out there and say, I want to own a Lotus, or I want to have my own island or something. But if I don't have an actual step, talk to us about how you build that to be able to get to those goals. What are the functionality of your goals?
That's a great question. So I have built it off the SMART system. I don't know if you ever heard of the SMART system. S stands for simple. You have to have a simple goal. It can't be, I'm going to fly to or it could be I can fly to the moon, because, we're doing that these days. Yeah, but, it can't be something out of the ordinary. It has to be a simple goal. M stands for measurable. What measurable steps are you going to take to reach that goal? A stands for attainable. Is that goal actually attainable? Is it not, out of the ordinary? Can you actually attain it during those measurable steps? R stands for realistic. It has to be a realistic goal. And T stands for time. You have to put a time frame on it. Just like I said at the beginning of this, when I spoke to my coach and hired my coach in December, I told him I want him to hold me accountable for 6 months, because that was my goal at my end of my time. But then 1 month later, I called him up and I said, I'm done. And he said, are you serious? And I said, as humans, we work best when our back's against the wall. If your back's against the wall, you are willing to do whatever it takes to make sure you succeed and put food on the table. So that's the mindset and the process I had, and creating that SMART goal system, writing it down on the time frame that I need to do it, making sure it's a measurable goal and what measurable steps I'm taking to reach it within that time frame, really helped me narrow down what I need to do and how much I need to accomplish by acquiring properties to reach those goals.
Yeah, I love that. Hey, this has been awesome. Let's pivot into real estate, because you're doing so much. You're working on so much product. You recently just closed on a 44 unit. Talk to us about that acquisition. Talk to us about why you liked it. What was it about the market, how you found the deal, and ultimately what you're doing with the deal?
Yeah, very much so. So some people know, some people don't know. If you follow me on social media or Bigger Pockets, I did write a blog. That 44 units I actually purchased with no money down. So I had no money that I put down to purchase that unit. And how I did that was, I have a very close friend and client of mine who gave me a personal line of credit, because you cannot raise for the earnest money. He gave me a personal line of credit, a loan, that then I used that loan, and he knew what the loan was for. I used that loan as a $150,000 or $160,000 hard money day one. So I took a big risk. And in that loan terms, if you're doing this, you can negotiate any loan terms you'd like. I had to pay him back within 2 years if I lost that money. So I took a big risk going into it. How I found this property was, I was touring an adjacent property that I lost out in best and final. And I'm all about opportunity and creating an opportunity. And while I was touring this adjacent property I lost out in best and final, I looked at the broker and I said, what's going on with this complex? Is it for sale? Can I make it 135? Because it was a 91 I was touring and a 44. Can I make it 135? He says, it's available now. He called the seller. He said, it's available. He said, we can do a package deal. Unfortunately, I lost the 91, but a week later I called him back. I said, is the 44 still available? He said, well, yes, it is. So then that's when I started the process of going through. So I got it off market. They're all 2.2s. Average rent is $886. And right now where the market sits, the rent comps are at $1,400. So we're going to bump them up to around $1,250 to $1,300. And like we were discussing before this, I have people, there's a couple residents, 2 residents that are begging to get into these newer renovated units because what we're doing with the property. But yeah, we are very excited about that project. I'm a big believer in, with the previous company I ran and overseeing other different companies and why they failed and why they succeeded. I'm a big believer in investing in the market, like the back of your hand, because in a market correction or a market shift, you have to have that business plan of that property to shift with the market, or it may not cash flow and investors may not be happy. So I'm a big believer in invest in the operator that knows that area at a very high level.
Sure. And so people listening, I'm sure they're going to ask 2 questions, right? First, 886 rent, blended rent there. Why was it the owner capitalizing and increasing his rents? And then on the latter part, 1,400 is our market rent, but you guys are choosing to put out 1,250 to 1,300 products. So talk to us about one, the owner's mindset and also your business philosophy on not maximizing your rent.
Yeah. So before I got into this, and the reason why I love multifamily and especially B and C class value add is because I treat each property like its own entity, which it is, but a failing business. Because you go in there and you have to implement a business plan. I know a couple of people talk about, I want to buy in at this cap rate or buying at this cap rate. I know Manhattan's buying in at 1% to 2% cap rates, but it's the business plan to make sure that property cash flows. So I realized very quickly by studying the P&Ls that this was the owner's first syndication ever. They're local developers and they did not care about renovating. They did not renovate any units. I noticed that the previous property management company was charging $54,000 a year for an on-site property manager. Well, there was no on-site office. So I knew right there, my investors got extra money that on a yearly basis because of that. So that was a no-brainer. So that's really what stood out to me about this property. It's a wonderful location. It's right there on that transition belt. Ryan Homes, which is a national home builders building $400,000 to $600,000 townhouses right across the street. So I know that this whole area is turning, and I know that we can walk away with a big profit once we exit. On the question in regards to why don't we go to 1,400, it goes back to knowing your business plan and knowing when the market shifts. It's just like why I don't focus on A class is because when the market shifts, A class is normally the first type of class that gets hit harder compared to B and C. I want to make sure our business model is like the Waltons, which is, in my opinion, the richest family in the world who owns Walmart. They focus on 98% of the population. So I go in there to our properties and I make sure they look like A class. They feel like an A class amenities with the luxury amenities, but we're not charging those prices. We're charging where we can focus on 98% of the population, because in a market correction, B and C class will go up to 100% occupancy, where A class will drop, because instead of paying $5,000 a month for a 2-bedroom in Charlotte, you're going to come and pay $1,300 for our 2-bedroom that looks like that $5,000.
That's awesome. You're going to have the best product at a moderate price point, and that's always a win, right? Exactly. Yes. Especially when you are looking at the forecasting for the future. So super good work. Awesome. What is the anticipated hold period for the property?
Yeah, so for that particular property, it's a 5-year hold period. With our renovations getting done and how the market is in Charlotte, there's a possibility we can exit earlier and make sure our investors get a return on their money, but it's a 5-year hold period.
Awesome. And talking about 5-year hold, what is the 5-year outlook for Chris Salerno? What does that look like?
Yeah, 5-year outlook for myself and with QC Capital is to have $1 billion under management of multifamily.
Awesome. Staying specific to the Southeast, or how do you expand your market research here? Basically trying to find $1 million in product and get that under management.
Yeah, great question. Well, as Charlotte being the second biggest financial district in the United States, right after Manhattan, Charlotte has a ton of growth. Multifamily Housing Association said before 2030, Charlotte needs 72 more thousand apartments. And we're actually behind that right now. So there's a ton of growth in Charlotte, a ton of growth in Raleigh, a ton of diversity in jobs here in Charlotte. and the cost of living is extremely low compared to other major metro cities. So my main focus is Raleigh, North Carolina, and Charlotte, North Carolina. I've lived in Charlotte for over 13 years and gained the success in the residential industry, so I know my market. And that's going back to, picking an operator that knows their market. So in a market correction or a market recession or anything like that, you can fluctuate the business plan. I drive by past the properties 3 times a week, make sure the property manager, there's no trash on the ground or anything like that. So I think that's a really big difference that separates myself from a lot of other operators, is that I'm local. I focus on markets that I know. I will start to expand down to Florida because I have family. I grew up in South Florida. I grew up in Orlando. I have family in those markets, and those are markets I know and I feel comfortable with while investing in.
Well, this is great. I have a few more questions for you. So,
yeah.
$1 billion under management, you're really just changing your personal outlook in life. What's your words to live by, or maybe the QC Capital mission statement? Do you have one?
Yeah, so our mission statement of QC Capital is helping investors build wealth through multifamily real estate and to create that financial freedom. So that's the QC's mission statement, is that we look to make it a win-win situation for everybody, because if we all grow together and we all put our minds together, we'll all hit our goals together a lot quicker than if we did it on our own. My big thing that I always just tell myself is never give up. I've watched a lot of documentaries here in the last couple days about One Meek Mill, about a couple other documentaries about China and the real estate over there, and some individuals who invest over there. And the biggest trait, and also with reading these success books of authors studying very wealthy and successful people, is that they never gave up. No matter what obstacle came in front of them, they just never gave up, and they just kept pushing to reach their goal. So that's a big thing I do, is I never give up. No matter what happens, I always keep pushing.
I love it. What's a piece of advice that's been given to you that always sticks with you?
A piece of advice that always, I would say Warren Buffett, his saying, never lose money. And then number 2 is never do number 1, is this never lose money. But in this business, anything can happen when you invest. And that's a big advice that I've read. But there's just so many quotes I read on a daily basis. The biggest thing is I'm heavily on Instagram, heavily on social media, and I've changed my outlook on life and my mindset by just making sure everything's positive. I don't watch TV. I'll watch documentaries and read books. But anything on my Instagram is always positive quotes that I'm seeing, because I'm surrounding myself with positivity and having a strong mindset. So I think that's very important. But I read so many quotes a day that I'm always just soaking them all in.
What is one actual step someone should take today to change their position in life or their outlook in life to better be positioned in real estate?
Better be positioned in real estate. One big thing I would say is mindset. And that's in anything, in any career, not just real estate, is you got to make sure you have a strong mindset, and you're soaking up as much knowledge. Because no matter where you are, once I hit that 5-year mark and we have $1 billion under management, I will still be learning. We're always learning and we're always soaking up knowledge. So that's a big thing, is making sure your mindset's there. Read books, surround yourself with people on who or where they are, that's where you want to be. Because soaking up the knowledge, soaking up that mindset, a big thing I talk about is that your first week, if you go into the military, your first week, don't hold me to this, but I believe it's called Hell Week. And that week, what they do is they tear down your mind mentally, and they build you up as a soldier for the United States. So that's what you have to do in any career you're looking to go down, is tear down your mind mentally and then build it up with knowledge for that specific career, so you can be an expert in that career and know it. I think a big thing is going back to market knowledge. I had someone reach out to me on Instagram, and they said, I just put an LOI on a 50 unit. And I said, oh, wonderful. Is that in Charlotte? He says, yes. I said, oh, this is that property and this is where it's located. He said, how'd you know? I said, it's my market knowledge. I know what's going on in Charlotte. I know my market. So that's why I invest in a market I know. So soak up as much knowledge as possible before you take that leap into real estate, because you will always be learning in real estate. And that's one reason why I love it, is because it's not the same thing over and over.
Awesome. Well, Chris, this has been highly informational. Just really your ability to just find success and then choose to find other success, and just the way you're growing has just been everything. And it goes to your quotes here. Never give up, and helping investors build wealth through multifamily to find financial freedom. So thanks so much for coming on the show. It's super awesome. What's the best way for others to find you, your podcast, your Instagram? Where should they find you?
Yeah, very much so. So I created a Facebook group. It's Mindful Multifamily Network and Mindful Multifamily Show. Every Thursday at 7 to 7:30, we do a live webinar with different type of speakers. And the reason why I created Mindful Multifamily Show and Network is because I want everybody to gain the knowledge of real estate investing. And so that's why the mindful part is in there. You can reach me at Chris_Salerno_ on Instagram. I'm very heavily on Instagram. I post daily content on there with the deals I'm doing and motivational. If anyone has any questions about investing or anything, you can always reach me at chris@qccapitalgroup.com.
Oh, this is awesome. Chris, thanks so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Have a great day.
You as well.
Alpha Funding Solutions, your capital partner backing real estate investors since 2007, providing the best combination of pricing and leverage in the market. Join Alpha's family of 1,000 plus successful and happy investors, and let Alpha's team provide options in your next deal, or reach out to discuss your future needs and strategy. So go to alphafunding.com/J&P. Again, that's alphafunding.com/J&P to connect or submit a deal today. Alpha Funding Solutions, your capital partner backing real estate investors since 2007, providing the best combination of pricing and leverage in the market. Join Alpha's family of 1,000 plus successful and happy investors, and let Alpha's team provide options in your next deal, or reach out to discuss your future needs and strategy. So go to alphafunding.com/J&P. Again, that's alphafunding.com/J&P to connect or submit a deal today.